Hi everyone, Dan Dugan here from Ed Small Business Consulting, and today I've got Tim Henry from Henry Lawyers. How you going?
Hey Dan, thanks for having me again.
Not a problem, mate. So again, with Tim, I just wanted to run through three quick questions, mainly around when you started your own business, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. So Tim, when you started Henry Lawyers, what are some of the big challenges you faced when you first started out, and I guess how did you best overcome them?
So I started Henry Lawyers, in 2020, right in the midst of COVID. So COVID was obviously a bit of an issue in terms of people wanting to do anything at that point. It was pretty locked down, and pretty much everyone, no one really knew where they stood. So COVID was a very specific problem that I had to overcome, but it's not really a very good example. Of course, it will probably never happen again in our lifetime, you hope. But the biggest issue that I had from the start, and it continues to be the issue that is most pressing on my mind most of the time, was cash flow. So what we did, me and my wife did before we started Henry Lawyers, was decide. Well, we were given advice by a cousin of mine actually, who said, before you start your own business, make sure you have a year's worth of money to live on before you do it. So save up that amount of money before you start it, because you're probably not going to make much money when you start. It was good advice. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we started earlier than what we would have liked because from my previous job. So we didn't have the whole year's worth of money to live on. We had about half. So what did I do to overcome it? I got a part-time job delivering beds. So I delivered beds on the weekends for a firm, for a company that I'd worked for in my previous lives. So it was a bit easier to get that done. I was lucky in that regard. So cash flow was the biggest issue, and it it got better with time because the business built. But earlier on, it definitely was. We were definitely on a budget and very much scared of what was going to happen next.
Yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster, but that's great advice. That saving for that your cousin gave you, saving for that 1 year's worth of wages in a perfect world, obviously, but even just to get half that is still an amazing accomplishment, and it just helps you put everything, your full time and effort into that new business as opposed to sort of worrying about where the next sort of meal's coming from. So that's really good
Yeah,
advice.
that's right. That's right. And having that part-time job sort of it it's not the sort of job you needed to focus too much on. It was a casual job that was labor. So it was good in that sense. So you didn't need to think about it. But it did take away time that you could have spent on the business. But at the end of the day, you can't spend all of your time on your business. You go crazy.
Mm. No, absolutely. So then, if we think back again to that time when you first started out, is there anything that you know now in business that you wish you knew back then when you first started?
Yeah, yeah. The one thing that I would like to tell myself, and I tell anyone that I know that is starting something new, is that accept it from the start that networking is going to be 50% of your job for the first few years, because it really is. Uh, no matter what profession you're in, no matter what trade you're in, you have to get clients in the door to have a successful business. And there's no greater way to do that than referrals. And I did not. I probably had been told that, but I don't think I had accepted it. So networking for me was definitely not something that I ever liked doing as a lawyer, as an employed lawyer. I would always avoid it. I would just be happy to do my legal work, which is what I've been trained to do, and not have to socialize with other people. But when you go out on your own, it's just you, and you do have to do it. So I wish that I had sort of accepted that a bit earlier, as opposed to worrying, well, should I really be doing this much networking as opposed to working on actual, legal work. But yeah, eventually you sort of get it right. You sort of have to find the balance. So yeah, accept that networking is going to be 50% of your job, and just get out there and do it.
Well, that's how we met, mate. So that's how it
Exactly.
rolls. So
Yeah.
so no, look, that's
And
a
look
really
at us
good point.
now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And obviously, very industry dependent on how that continues. But I know, obviously for your business, Tim, and I know for my business, where that professional services networking is always in the underlying. So you've still got to keep going and doing it, getting more clients and things like that. So it sort of never ends. But that's really good advice.
That's right. Yeah.
And probably just to finish off, Tim, in terms of some positives that you've found in running your own business, what are some positives you found?
Well, the positives are endless, really, because you're your own boss. You don't have a boss, so you got no one to answer to. In that, though, you answer to the clients in a more personal way, obviously. So there's no safety net. You are the person that deals with everything. So in a sense, your clients become your boss because they're the ones you're trying to impress. They're the ones you're trying to do something for. But at the end of the day, it's not a boss telling you what to do, and it's not someone that you're making money for, which is very nice. Flexibility is a big one for me. I work from home a lot. I've got 3 boys and a wife, so it's good to be able to spend a lot of time with them, even though, as you would know, Dan, as a business owner, you do not get a lot of time to spend with them. But when you're at home, it does make it easier to pop in and pop out of those times. Obviously, your nights are often filled with work, but that's just the way it goes, especially while we're building things up. But yeah, so lots of positives, and really the only negative is that it is just you. There's no one to fall back on, and if something goes wrong, it's you are that first port of call and the last port of call.
No, that's a really good point. And it is really that flexibility piece and being your own boss, making your own decisions that really, I know for me, really is the big positives for me. And then, as you mentioned, from a negative standpoint, it's just that having time because it is just yourself. And
Mm.
all the business owners I speak to, their biggest thing is I don't have time for, as you said before, the networking or those things like that. So, no, they're really great points, Tim, and would help anyone that's looking to start their own business. But no, I really appreciate your time, Tim. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.